welcome back to another Shonen Archive. What's Shonen Archive? Well, I'm glad you asked. Shonen Archive is a series in which me and my partner Zenrot plan to watch every single Shonen Jump anime that exists in the world until one of us is no longer around in this world, and currently it's just me by myself covering it because Zen is away and needs to take an extremely long hiatus. But I'm going to be continuing on forward, and then later on we'll be catching them up with these episodes after I've watched them and such later on. So that's what Shonen Archive is. And also, if I sound different, it's because I've started using new mic stuff. Because, I mean, I guess if you don't watch my other videos, I've heard that I haven't had any complaints so far, but it's because my brother's laptop is extremely loud, so it can be heard with my microphone, because my microphone is very good. So I started putting some noise reduction stuff here, so that's why I sound different than you're used to hearing. And now, what are we doing here now that I've caught you up on everything? Well, I'm going to be talking about Gintama, which is one of our main series. We have a bunch of other series that we'll have to get to after figuring out everything, but Gintama. Today I'm going to be talking about episodes 287 to 289, which is the Soul Switch arc. And that's going to be it for today. All right. Still getting used to doing these solo. Haven't really... Oh, and I guess just to bring it up, there was supposed to be an episode last week, and then I forgot that was in the middle of like post-Christmas, yeah, kind of like post-Christmas type stuff. Yeah, it was, should have realized I would not have had time on that one, but I digress. I'm here today, aren't I? I'm here today, and now let's talk about the Soul Switch arc. So we're going to start, of course, with episode 287, which is called He's the Sweet Guy and I'm the Mayo Guy, also romanized as, I guess, the original kanji, Origa Meora de Atsuga Amato de, which is I have a sweet tooth and stuff. Okay, let's go. Episode 287. Kagura and Shinpachi are chasing Gintoki out of Yorozaya for forgetting to pay their wages, and Hijikata in the same time is disciplining Yamazaki for being too relaxed on a stakeout. And as they're chasing both of them, one of them is getting chased, the other one is chasing someone else. They cross paths and they both get hit by a truck. They wake up in the hospital and the doctors ask them to state their name and occupation, and Gintoki says that he is Hijikata, and Hijikata says that he is Gintoki. Vice Commander Hijikata says in Gintoki's body, I'm the Vice Commander of the Shinsengumi, and the other one says I'm Gintoki of Odd Jobs. Both the doctors go, must have switched the charts by accident. Perfectly fine, you can leave now, you're okay. And then Hijikata, from this point on, it's going to be very, very complicated to talk about this arc, because the switching of the body causes a lot of like weirdness. So I guess I will address them by, if I'm talking about Gintoki, it's Gintoki in Hijikata's body, and if I'm talking about Hijikata, it's Hijikata in Gintoki's body. But anyway, Gintoki goes off to a bar where he orders his regular, and they give him Hijikata special, and then he says, what is this dog food? This is not what I want. I want the Uji Gintoki Udon, which is the name of the bowl that he has, which is his special. And then the other guy says, like, hey, we kind of went it around. One of them is full of mayonnaise and the other one is full of sugar. They see that there's an accident. It's funny because he calls Hijikata's food dog food, and then he calls Gintoki's food cat food. They switch it up, and then that's when they finally realize that they've switched bodies. They discuss how this could have happened, and they talk about that after they got hit, they could feel himself in soul form going up, and as he was going in soul form, he got hit by Gintoki's soul, and he ended up in Gintoki's soul, while Gintoki's body, soul, ended up with half of his soul, because half of it went into into Hijikata's body, and the other half went into a dead cat that was laying around. So now they are currently stuck in this kind of situation. They don't know what to do, and they said, we're just gonna have to play it cool and go about our daily lives. The next morning, over at the Shinsengumi, they're all wondering why Hijikata is so late, and it's because and then at the same point as they're wondering why Hijikata is so late, if anyone is late, Hijikata said that they have to commit seppuku, because This is gonna be very hard to talk on YouTube because they do say a whole bunch, like commit seppuku over and over and over. Or harikiri, I should say. No, which one is it? They have to kill themselves basically. If they ever fail. So they're wondering where Hijikata is. Then at the same token, Shinpachi's coming into work for Yorizoya, and then as both of them go to check, Shinpachi to go say hi to Gintoki, and then I think Yamazaki to go check on no, it wasn't Hijikata actually. It wasn't Yamazaki, it was Tetsu. He's there. I remember because his big shiny ass eyes were there. I'm like, oh my god, it's been so long since I last saw you. He goes to go looking for Hijikata, and then at that time they both get into a big shock. Hijikata, as Gintoki, lets Shinpachi know that he's late, and he also has in the background Kagura and Sadaharu kind of kneeling as, I think, punishment or kind of waiting for him. And then Gintoki and Hijikata's body is still sleeping, and he got woken up and he gets very angry. That's when Gintoki gives the Shinsengumi a bunch of rules that are basically like they try and say like, okay, well, now we're gonna do your morning routine where he recites all the rules. Obviously Gintoki has no idea what the fuck the rules are, so he just kind of goes like, you know what, you should all be free from everything. Who says that I need to tell you everything? Don't let Hijikata run your life, basically. And then over on the Yorizoya side, Hijikata is telling them about all the new rules that they have for the odd jobs and how if they break any of the rules, they have to basically kill themselves. All right, sorry, slight pause in there just because I had to let my cat inside. So as I was saying, Hijikata, as Gintoki, is giving a bunch of rules, and then he also says he's going to start paying them on time. So he gives them back all the back wages that they are owed. I should also say that when they were going back to saying everything's going to be normal, Hijikata has to deal with Shinpachi and Kagura wanting to attack him for never paying them. And then Gintoki himself has to deal with Okita constantly trying to kill him randomly, which is something that he is the main danger that he always faces. Okay, so then he says he's going to start paying them. They start freaking out. They say, you're not Gintoki. Something's going on here because you're saying that you also have to pay rent. He even asked, who do I have to go here to pay rent? Otose they tell Otose that, hey, he wants to start paying us and start paying you. And she says, oh my god, there's a meteor going to fall. The end times are here. And he tells them all to shut up. Like, she warns the entire time just to say, like, oh my god, his behavior is so weird. Then later on, Gintoki and Hijikata meet up on the bridge to share if they found anything, and are horrified to see that on the Gintoki side, the Shinsengumi have turned into basically the wild dudes from Fist of the North Star, like basically a motorcycle gang of some kind. And over on Hijikata's side, the Yorizoya have turned into basically the Shinsengumi. They actually also wear the blue hori that the Shinsengumi actually wore in history. I knew this because of Fake Grand Order, and I know that that's what they usually wear. So I thought that was pretty cool. And also they start talking about they start acting like who do you say? It's like I didn't know. This is where I wish I had Zen, because they start saying Gatosu, which is a reference to a character from Rurouni Kenshin, and they say this a lot, and I assume a lot of what they're doing is just references to Rurouni Kenshin, but I've never seen that, so it just kind of like fell flat. Not flat, because I like the Shinsengumi gear, but I didn't understand the reference that they were going for. So they start to argue about what's happened. The two sides are also arguing with each other, and Kagura and Okita destroy the bridge, and they both drop into the river. Gintoki wakes up and finds that Tama has saved both of them, and she tells him that she knows that Gintoki and Hijikata have switched bodies earlier on when Hijikata was in the snack shop talking about how the Yorizoya is going to have to change. She realized something immediately was off, and then she takes him to Gengai, and Gengai reveals that their predicament was caused by a machine called the fully automatic egg-on rice maker, which malfunctioned into the truck, hitting them, and turned into the ego demaker or something like that, the ego desplitter or something like that. And that's how the episode ends. And there we go. So, during the ending, as Sadaharu is running across the field, he looks at the sky and he sees Itoya, which is a member of the Shinsengumi who is no longer here, which I thought was very nice. Actually, all the characters in the ending, 2 out of 3 of them are no longer in the series, which I thought was funny, because it seemed like this was the most like kind of apropos of the thing going on here. So, how did I feel about this episode now that I've seen it? Let's see. Well, I thought it was a pretty good setup to everything. I also feel like to where the arc is eventually going to go, but it also is a really long setup with the jokes of like, hey, we've switched bodies, and it takes like an entire thing to finally get to the part where it's like, okay, well, here's how it kind of happened, and showing stuff like that. It was nice to see Tetsu again. Some of the jokes were pretty good. Of them acting different, even though again this does take place over a long time. I liked it when Natose was acting like the meteor was gonna fall, and she warns the entire town to say like, "Oh my god, it's going down." I like the changes to the Shinsengumi. That this is the after they show with the changes to the Shinsengumi and the Yorizoya. I thought it was very funny. Especially because I like the reference back to the way that the Shinsengumi dressed in history, and also, even though they were completely lost on me, I did like how much they kept pointing out, this is just Katatsu. Why are you doing Katatsu? Stop doing Katatsu, please, for the love of God. And then the other thing I really liked, because I actually had to stop to go look at this this joke, which I'm actually going to pull up right here. Boom, boom. The ego in the wrong device, and the other one is the so that's what it was called. It was the ego in the wrong device, and the other one was called the egg on rice maker, which is supposed to be a way of doing it. But the thing I like here is you could see here. So the way he pronounces it is, for the first one, which is the egg on rice, is the tamagokaki gohan egg. No, my bad. I was starting the English one, but the tamagokaki gohan. And then the way he pronounces the soul infusion one is the tamakakaki gohan. And I thought it was very funny because you'll notice here that the tama in the first one is referring to egg, and then the one in the second one that is also using tama, which is tamago, and then tamago kaka. So this is the egg one, and then the other one it goes into Tama means soul, and they use the kanji for soul, and they start at the beginning. So if you don't know how Japanese kind of works, it's very easy to make puns. Because tama can mean multiple things. It can mean balls, it can mean eggs, it can mean this, and a lot of the time the kanji in them, that's why if you don't know, there's a practice in Japan where you share your business card. Because the kanji in your name, just because it has that kanji doesn't mean that it's going to be said the same way. There's actual multiple ways that sometimes you can say one specific way. So both of these, even though they're both tama, they both kind of go different ways, and you can see the different way that they look. And then the one for Gohan, I thought Gohan was really cool because Gohan obviously means rice, or sometimes it means food as well. And then the Gohan that they use for the soul device is actually a kanji that means misjudgment. So it's really on another level here, and I thought that was really cool. I remember because obviously the reason I thought this was really cool is because I myself am learning Japanese. So when I saw this, I was like, this is some insane wordplay. Let me look up and go for it a little bit more. It reminded me of when I was looking for some specific stuff of like, hey, what are some good things that are like good to see as a beginner? Gintama was actually one of them, and I think it's because of the many, many jokes that they make and puns that they make as well. So I thought that was really good. And yeah, that's how I feel about this episode. So this is the start of the arc. I'm going to talk about how I feel about the arc by the end of it. But let's move on to the next one, which is going to be episode 288, which is I'm a failure as a leader, and he's also a failure as a leader. So the way this one goes, so they attempt to do some, they try to get their souls back in the right place by using the egg over rice machine. They explained it a little bit more. I actually don't remember how I explained it, but just to explain what happened basically is that when they hit the truck, it had the egg over machine, and then it caused them to switch because after the truck hit them, the device fell out the back and completely messed up and tried to make an egg on rice thing. It's like supposed to be used to get like this right soy sauce. It actually reminded me if I should try at some point to see if I can make an egg on rice. Because I remember it's something that they do in general, that if you just put egg on rice, it'll be good. But I never actually have tried that, so now I'm kind of curious on it. But anyway, that's how it goes. So they try a bunch of different ways to try and get the things back together, but every time they try, they just keep making a new egg dish. In one case, there's like tiny balls in it because, of course, Tama and stuff like that. And so they say that there's something wrong with Gintoki's half of the soul split, and that's when they realize that when it entered the cat's anus, the dead cat's anus, it must have been another half of his soul from the earlier part of the episode. That actually wasn't just a joke. That's actually something legitimate that they had to focus on. So then they rush to go find it. Both of them do. With the they go to the location where it was found, and they find that it's missing. And then Gintoki says, what happens if what if my soul reanimated it? And they both kind of get scared, and they go their separate ways to go searching of them. Gintoki in Hijikata's body stumbles across Katsura, and Katsura, he's like, ah, damn it. And Katsura starts saying, you're in the enemy territory now of the JOI rebels. So what are you gonna do? Then there's like dudes behind him, and then when they go to what looks like attack him, that's when Katsura fights back, and he reveals that he's actually joined Yorizoya. And then it's not only him, it's actually Hasegawa, and it's and Sarutobi as well, or Sachan. And they're all here now. And they're now part of the Yorizoya, not just, it's Joy Rebels, Homeless, and Ninjas are all now part of Yorizoya. And they go to leave because they hear rumors of a monster cat that is around the city. And then at the same time, Gintoki and Hijikata and Gintoki's body stumbles across the Shinsengumi, who are really happy with the newfound freedom. Even though it seems like most of the newfound freedom that they seem to like is the fact that they don't have to wear sleeves anymore. And then Hijikata and Gintoki's body starts talking bad about Hijikata, so then they start attacking him. Was like, don't talk bad about our buddy. And as they're attacking him, he gets saved by Shinpachi and Kagura and some of Yorizoya, and they're gonna fight each other. Hijikata and Gintoki try and tell him to stop because they're acting weird, and we need to join forces because we're looking for a cat. And we need to join, we need to form a truce. They don't listen to them at all, and they start fighting each other, and that's when a big-ass fucking cat walks out of a room, and they see with his dick hanging out and everything, and so that's when they realize, okay, we need to actually call a truce, and we need to attack this monster again, together. The monster absolutely destroys him, and he runs away, and Gintoki realizes the cat is actually the embodiment of only the negative side of his soul, which is filled with all his bloody wars and fighting and playing of pachinko, which I thought that means that this is probably the strongest thing that they've ever had to fight ever. Shinpachi and Kondo start to like be really sad about how weak they are, besides following all the rules that the leaders established. And Gintoki and Hijikata both say that it's because that they're worthless, and they leave to go confront the giant cat monster, go find it. Gengai then appears and tells them that as long as these people are in the state that they are, they can't help them. So Gengai tells him, I'm going to help you understand what they're going through. And then that's when he recreates the accident and hits everyone on the scene at that moment with the truck again. And then later at night, Gintoki and Hijikata have not found where the cat is. And they say they're going to find him without having to involve the other. But then right then they see him leaving the rooftops, and they go inside a house, and they follow behind bushes because they're worried about the owner of the what it's going to be, this cat. And that's when it reveals that it's actually Otai's house, and Tai is basically adopted him as a cat pet He calls him Dozamon, Dozaemon. Okay, yeah, Dozaemon. I keep wanting to call it his because I have it down here, his name, and I'm like, I keep wanting to call him like a Digimon. But anyway, they're both terrified because she's just keeping him as a pet, and Dozaemon starts politely talking to Otai and saying, "Thank you for helping me when I was down and at my worst, helping me with my recovery, and I could leave because people are gonna start saying stuff about me being your pet." And she says, "No, I refuse. You're gonna stay here, and you can stay here and make new memories. You don't need to get your memories back." Because he lamented when he left the pachinko parlor that he could not remember any of his memories. And that's when she feeds him, and she feeds him some of her disgusting food, which knocks him out, and he's unable to remember, and they blame the food for why they can't ever remember anything. And then that's when Gintoki tells Hijikata that in his body he has to go and basically ask Tai to let them have Doizamon. And the episode ends with him approaching him, doing his best Gintoki impression, and that's where the episode ends right there. Okay, so some things about this one. This episode was okay. I thought it was pretty nice, pretty laid back kind of episode. I was enjoying a lot of the weird switching stuff that had been going on there. The beginning at the beginning of the episode when they're doing just nonstop egg jokes again because of I got a tickle out of it just because of the things I had been trying to learn about Japanese. I thought there were a bunch of good little jokes here. They make a reference about like you need to get Bufferin, which is a headache medicine. And I guess a bunch of the ads in Japanese talk about the medicine is made with kindness, and they keep saying that that's the half that Gintoki's missing, which was funny. Later on, Gintoki says that the other thing I really like when Kagura showed up in the new Yorizoya outfits. Also, just how many people in the short time Hijikata was able to join the Yorizoya was very funny. Like in a very short amount of time, so many people joined and were joining up, and then also that their battle cry is, "We go for anything that makes we go for our own way and are the goodness of our paychecks," which I thought was pretty funny. They keep playing their parody song of Fists of the North Star whenever they showed the Shinsengumi in their new outfits. It also is really funny because Kondo was also like super like a parody of one of those dudes. Like he pulls out his knife and he starts licking it, which I thought was very funny. Also the fact that they only started messing them with him after they started insulting him. They said, "That's our buddy and we're gonna take you down now." I thought that was pretty good. I find it was funny when the dead cat showed up with a dead dick showed up because it was unexpected. Some other stuff about the monster. I also like that the monster is built up with like just the negative emotions of Gintoki, which I thought was very nice, and they play with some of that later on. Like I felt it was at one point he starts like when he sees how much the dead half of him as Doizamon starts being treated by Otai. He says like, "I'm so happy that you found the other half." I'm so happy that you found happiness, which I thought was very cute just because he knows how much that side of him has kind of gone through. I like that they set up the cat thing pretty well because at the beginning I thought that they were making a reference of calling Gintoki's food cat food because he had actually been a cat previously, but the fact that he also goes into a cat I thought was a pretty nice reference there of going in there. And then finally, when Sadaharu is walking through at the ED, he sees Kanemaru up in the sky, which I thought was funny because I had not seen him in a while and I didn't think he really fit with the other two later on when I put it down. So yeah, this is this one, and now let's move on. I thought it was a very, like, it advances the story, there's some good gags, but it's nothing, like, too crazy that I would say, like, oh yeah, this is the killer one, at least for me. I feel like they've definitely have done a little bit of, they've gone crazier before, and speaking of crazy, that's where everything ends with this next one, so we'll move on to episode 289, which is called I'm Yorizoya and he's Shinsengumi. So, the way this goes is that as we left off, Hijikata, who's in Gintoki's body, starts asking Tei to dump the cat that she has and start dating him. So starts flirting with her basically. Which is funny because he also starts like saying, "I didn't come here because of you," which which Gintoki says, "Why are you acting like a tsundere? It doesn't make any sense. Get in there," but that's not how I act. Then in Hijikata's body, after Gintoki basically says, "You need to date me," Gintoki shows up in Hijikata as Hijikata, and then he starts to flirt back with Tae, saying, "Come with me." Both of them start arguing with each other, and then Hijikata coming from the stand of "Don't flirt with my boss's girlfriend," and the other one going from a stand of "I don't want you to flirt in general, so stop it." And Otai takes it as, "I had no idea that both of you were so interested in me. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to look at your paychecks. I'm going to see how you do, and I'm going to start choosing between them." And then as I start talking to more about her in really funny ways, she starts like saying like, "Oh, that's a demotion for you, Gintoki. That's a demotion for you, Hijikata." And then Shinpachi shows up dressed normally. He's no longer in the Shinsengumi outfit that he was in previously, the blue hoodie. And he says, "I gotta take your sister away." And Kondo then appears and he's also acting normal, and he says, "We need to take this cat away as well, because he's dangerous." And they think that everything's gone normal, and they both say, "Hey, meet me in the front," and they're both very proud because they like, oh, they're finally working together. They didn't need their leaders at all. As they go to the house gate, no one's there to see him, and that's when the real Shinpachi, whose soul is stuck in his glasses, because he had his glasses on at the beginning of the scene, but then he lost them, and that's when he tells him that Kondo is currently in Shinpachi's body, and Sachan is currently in Kondo's body. Kondo wants to be with Otai because I guess this never made sense to me. This is a lot of my issues from this episode come from the fact of Kondo saying, "I don't care that I'm in her brother's body. I think I could still get with her and then keep her for myself," which is really fucking creepy on a next level. Compared to a lot of the other stuff he's in, because I was like, there's no way that you would be okay with this. I wouldn't be okay with this if I was in a situation of, if the literal love of my life was right in front of me and the way for me to get them was to be in her brother's body, I would shoot myself. I would not then go on a mission to say like, okay, well, I'm now gonna just actually be her brother and just always be with her. That's creepy as fuck. And then Sachan's coming from this where I think she wants to fuck that cat, so I think that's also kind of weird, because the cat is dead. That's not okay. The cat is also in a big human body, so I guess that's fine. I guess I'm trying to make this not seem like I'm gonna stop talking. This is usually where Zen's here and he could tell me to stop talking, but he's not here, so I'm gonna stop. Anyway, let's go back to talking about the episode. So yeah, he gets warned by the glasses of what's going on. They're taking advantage of the fact that they're in new bodies to get closer to their lovers, and that's when Yamazaki, who is possessed by Hasagawa's sunglasses, appears to help him. Like, you think that it's Hasagawa's body, but it's actually just his sunglasses. After the sunglasses fall off of him, Hasagawa turns into a corpse. Then they both smash the glasses because they're just annoyed with the current situation. We go back to Kondo and Shinpachi's body, who's like telling him we need to leave forever. Otai is suspicious because she's like, "You're not my brother." That's much as obvious, and she screams when it looks like he's trying to take her away. Then we cut to Sachan, who hears the noise, and she's like, "Man, Kondo just messed up. What a dumb perv." But the scream wakes up Doizman, and he goes like, "I hear my fair maiden needs help," and he rushes over to Otai to help. Then Shinpachi and Yamazaki tell Gintoki and Hijikata that since switching bodies, everyone has been wandering around town searching for their original bodies, giving way more work than they need to do to get everything up and running. And then they find Yamazaki, who's currently not talking, and he indicates for them to kind of follow him. And then he goes behind a pole and takes a huge shit behind the pole, like insanely huge, and barks. So it reveals that Sadaharu is currently in Yamazaki's body. And then they find Hasagawa, who's currently in Sadaharu's body, who was calling his wife saying, "I finally did it. I found a new job and I'm going to be a pet dog." And Gintoki says, "This is dumb. Why would you be okay with being a dog?" But Hasagawa says, "No, I can be useful. I can just smell it out." And so what he does is like, I just need to quickly mark my spot, and then I'm gonna go help you find the bodies that you need. He says like, oh, he's actually more helpful as a dog than he ever was a human. But after he takes a huge dump, his soul gets put into the body, and Sadaharu's soul leaves. Sadaharu's body turns into basically a corpse. So there's a big poop. Hijikata and Gintoki both leave, and they decide to leave. They put, for some reason, I don't know why they did this to Yamazaki. I thought it was fucked up. But the sunglasses of Hasagawa, they leave with Hasagawa's giant poop, and then that's Yamazaki. I guess because they're just both annoyed with the situation of both of them. Maybe because they saw Yamazaki take a huge dump, and then they saw this dog take a huge dump, and now Hasagawa's the dump. There's plenty of reasons why they would leave this behind. The two of them spot Doizamon carrying Otai, and they see Kagura and Okita is chasing after him. And both of them are attacked by Katsura and Elizabeth, and all four of them crash down. It turns out that I have it written down here because I have to have this written down somewhere. No, okay, I got it. Okay, so Kagura and Okita are both possessed by Katsura and Elizabeth, with Okita being in Katsura's body, Katsura being in Kagura's body, Elizabeth is in Okita's body, and then Kagura is inside Elizabeth's body. And they said that we can't wait. Katsura and Elizabeth, as Kagura and Okita says, they can't wait to live their new life of being non-criminals, and the other two are now criminals. And because they're also chastising Okita and Kagura, saying you need to be better at doing this. And Kagura is just upset because they're like way too close. They're like buddy touching each other, and she's like, I don't appreciate that at all. And Okita says that nothing has changed. My body, whether it's my body or whatever, I'm still gonna kill Katsura. And he kind of embraces that he's gonna be a terrorist. I think they say like, I'm not a terrorist. I'm what is Okita's last name? It is Sogo. He's like, I'm Sogo-san. They do that, not terrorist, Sogo-san. And the other one says, I'm not, but I'm that. Very goodness here. So we get back to the situation at hand. Otai is going, what the fuck is going on? And Hijikata and Gintoki try to explain to him that, like, what's going on. And that's when, unfortunately, Kondo and Sarutobi, Sachan show up. And it makes everything worse because they try and tell her that there's nothing going on, and Hijikata, who's Gintoki in Hijikata's body, is next to Kondo, and Kondo's like kissing him up and down. He says like, she's like, there's clearly something wrong here. He's like, no, don't worry. The Shinsengumi has always been kind of gay. That's why Kondo loves you, because he loves men. And she attacks him saying, I'm not a man. And then Gintoki in this one tries to explain what's going on as well. And he also says basically, your brother has always loved you in a really weird way, because he's deeply in love with men. And then she also attacks them as well, because that's clearly not what's going on. And so Dozamon refuses to be separated from the what's going on here. So they're going to fight him. They're all going to be teaming up because they're all united in this one stance. Gintoki throws Shinpachi over to Otai. And he finally explains to her what's going on between everything, of like how they switched places and how they're different. The group are like working together to take down the monster. They all have like their own moment with him, like of Kondo saying, even if I'm a pervert, he's like, you've always been a pervert. And then they go over to Sachan, and she's like, even if I'm a sadistic masochist or something, he's like, that's also a pervert. He's like, you've also always been that, so nothing's changed. They all start attacking him. Kagura as Elizabeth rips off his ball because why not at this point? And it looks like they're finally going to be joining together. They give them back their swords. No, after she rips off his testicles, it gives him a second wind, and he starts knocking them back out the building. And that's when, as he's going to attack him to finish him off, he's stopped by a poop monster, which is the fusion of Hasegawa and Yamazaki's soul. And then they finally are able to tie him down, and Hijikata and Gintoki hit a final blow on him. And it looks like the soul is finally leaving the mouth, and then instead of leaving through the mouth, he just like a mountain of shit covers the screen, full of mosaic as well. Like they make reference about like, oh my god, there's so much mosaic. He just doesn't stop shitting. I thought for a second that he would never stop shitting. Just nonstop shit everywhere, all over the place. And they said like, oh my god, there's so much shit. Oh my god, Hijikata, go find my soul in the shit. You're already shit. And then they see the soul and they're like, oh my god, I see the poop soul. And then finally we cut to after that, and Gintoki and Hijikata are both inside their bodies again. And so they start talking about how, like, I guess the Shinsengumi are back to the way they are, and so are the Yorizoya, which means that they have no real rules. And the Shinsengumi are back to being strict, and they say that you should go and respect, you say thank you and respect your subordinates, which show that they both kind of grown to care about the other's organization. As they go to leave the bridge, they are greeted by Shinpachi and Kondo and everyone else, who reveals that they've all basically been shit, and the only one who is not currently shit is Gintoki and Hijikata, and they say, we need you to go. So did you find out how we can get back to our normal bodies? And they're like, I think you guys need to find new leaders. And then they both get attacked by the shit, and then that's where this episode ends. Okay, that was episode 289. How do I feel about this? Is an insane episode. This feels like almost like it didn't really happen. It felt like the last two episodes had like some zaniness, but it wasn't full crazy. It feels like they saved everything for this. It's funny because at the beginning of the arc, they make a joke saying about like, hey man, you can't show your main character smoking. We have a dependable 10 p.m. time slot or something. You have to be like an upstanding dude or whatever. And then like 2 episodes later, like this insanely long shit scene. It's insane how much shit is on the screen. Even when it's covered in mosaic, it doesn't hide that it's shit. It's huge. It's everywhere. It goes all over the goddamn place. It honestly overwhelms this episode. There's like too much shit in it. Is my current thought process of it. But there are still some nice things that I like from this episode. One is obviously the dealings with the other half of Gintoki's soul. I think there's a really nice appreciation that you can have even in a very silly arc like this about the specific treatment of the other half of Gintoki's soul that has only ever known pain and suffering. Which I thought was handled pretty nicely with Otai, the way that Otai is the one who kind of looks after him, and she does feel really sad about him, and there's something that attracts her to him, and it's probably is the deep sadness that he actually has and possesses within him. And when he's finally able to, the reason that she's able to let him go is because she knows that that's part of Gintoki's soul, and as long as he doesn't have the other half of his soul, he's incomplete. Like the other part of him that will find the joy and happiness, it exists already. He just has to be reunited with it, which again I thought was a very a cute, even when Gintama is literally covered in shit, like head to toe, full on shit mountain. There's so much shit everywhere. I think there's still something here to be said about the characters and deep look within it. And you could say that maybe you're looking too deep into this shit, but I think he looks deep into this shit and cares about it that much. That's what my current feeling is on this one. Just because it lines up too well for it not to be thought of in that way, and I think he uses the smoke screen of, okay, well, let me put out a shit joke real quick to hide the sincerity within. Either because it helps it kind of go down easier, or if it's because whatever. It's like one of those dudes who goes screw you and then throws up throws up the middle finger and says, all right, fuck off. But there is actual sincerity in a lot of the things that they do. And this one, I think there is still parts of it. The other thing that I like is that at the end of it, Dozamon has a little shrine to himself, which again I thought was very cute. When you think about this episode the way it is, that is still a dead cat's body that was abandoned in the side of the road, and it was filled with Gintoki's worst aspect of him, and then he can finally rest now. It's very weird. Maybe I'm just absorbing a lot of into this to find stuff in it, but again, I feel like, again, if you look deep enough, you can find something. You can find the soul within the shit that is everywhere. So yes, and then the other thing to talk about this episode is at the end they do show Kintaro, which is the old man dog, which again is another one that I feel like had a lot of jokes, but at the end of the day had a very core message to it and everything. But I also did really like when Hasagawa showed Hasagawa and Yamazaki showed up as the fusion shit warrior, because I'm a big fan of Dragon Ball. So I just, I pop hard for fusions. That's just the way I go. I said, oh my god, is this guy Gogeta tier? Is he Vegito? Perfect. Loved it. Loved when he showed up with it. Again, there are a lot of really good gags of people being in out of opposite bodies. Maybe it's just because I am a child of a specific age and I remember Freaky Friday. And this arc is like Freaky Friday with a bunch of shit put in it. There's a lot of shit. There's a lot of Freaky Friday stuff as well. So I guess now we'll go into how I feel about the arc in general. I can see this one being a little bit divisive for a lot of people. I think when we get back with Zen, I think Zen probably would not like a lot of the shit jokes, but maybe just because they go so far in it, they will. As far as I go, I feel like the balance is there is a lot of shit on here, so maybe it's a really weird case of like, I think there's too much of it here. What I thought this arc was going to be and then what it was at the final are two completely different things, and maybe that's a good enough reason to be like, okay, you know what, you surprised me. But overall, I just thought it was an okay arc. I think there's probably some deeper stuff that you can find in there on the specific half of there being the sad parts of Gintoki Soul and Pachinko. There's some deeper stuff that you can probably find there. But some of the jokes are pretty good. Shinsengumi outfits look pretty sick. And yeah, overall, I think it's okay. There's been worse stuff on here. There's still some funny things in here, and still overall, I think good enough to be watchable to some extent. And some of it is just also just so out of the park weird that you just kind of have to tilt your head and say, okay, I want to see where this is kind of going. And then let me tell you, it does go places. And now that is it for the episodes for today's Shonen Archive. It's these three. Won't be an hour-long episode this time. Let's go. So what's going to be coming up next in Shonen Archive? Well, we have, for next week, hopefully, knock on wood, I'll be covering episodes 290 to 291, which is the Kaintai arc, and then we have episodes 292 to 293, and then two episodes 294 to 295, which is the Afro arc. And then the week after that, it will be 296 to 297, the Feigned Illness arc, and then 298 to 299, and then there's going to be a Jump Festa extra, so those five will be put together. And then the week after that one will be the Farewell Shinsengumi arc. No, it will be the Shogun Assassination arc, and then after that arc, it's going to be the Farewell to Shinsengumi arc, and then we will end it off with, before I move on to the next set of episodes, it will be a tiny little break called Love Potion arc. I've been trying to figure out the best placement to put in Love Potion arc, and it's weird because the way it specifically is placed in it technically takes place after the Afro arc, but it was shown after the I think the Farewell Shinsengumi arc, which is weird. It's like 2 OVAs. It shouldn't be too bad. It's basically like 2 episodes. So I'm gonna include it there. I think someone said like, hey, what order are you going to go in? And I'm going to be going, there's no like weird skipping going on for this one. I'm going to be going forward in the order that they were released. So that means after the Farewell Shinsengumi arc, we will finally enter the final set of episodes for Gintama, which are going to be episodes 317 to 369. And we had, we'll get there eventually, but that should be in about, big arc time will be in about 2 weeks time, hopefully, considering everything goes normal. But yeah, that is it for Shonen Archive. If you want to see more stuff featuring me, you're already on the channel that features me. That's right. right here. And if you want more, if you want to show support for the show, which is a good thing of doing it, you can do it by simply leaving a like, commenting, or subscribing. To be honest with you, Shonen Archive will always kind of continue, because the main thing that drives my channel is, of course, Fate Grand Order, and the way YouTube works is that they hate it when you try and do anything different, but Shonen Archive is something that we both really like and we both want to continue. So it's very likely that it will continue to be on the channel no matter what. Though, from what I heard from the feedback from when I asked 2 weeks ago, how does everyone kind of get their stuff? A lot of the people kind of answered saying, like, I kind of already just use YouTube. So maybe it will become a case, maybe to let me know how you feel about this, of I actually just kind of go the final mile and create a Shonen Archive channel. Because that would be probably the best way of doing things. I've always held back on creating a solo channel for something, mainly because I've always been an old style YouTube guy where everything that they do is on one channel, and I don't see the point of making another channel. But also the way YouTube is very different from when I was a kid, and now they actively punish you if you try and do something that different. So if that sounds like something you'd be interested in which I just create a channel dedicated to Shonen Archive and then we kind of go from there, let me know. But yeah, that's basically the end of everything, everyone. So that's right, it's time to end the show. So the way I typically end the show is that I shoot Zenrot, but now I don't have anyone to shoot. But now I'm going to be taking someone who leaves a comment down below. Likely eventually we'll get to the point where it will be multiple of the same people, just because a lot of repeat of people happen here. But this new person will now be getting shot in the place of Zen. So that's it, everyone. Thank you very much for watching, and say goodbye, Empty Goddess 22.